So the 49ers' next pick coming in the 5th round. This is actually the selection that they received from Washington after trading Deebo Samuel. It's a running back. We expected a running back on day 3 of this NFL draft. It's an Oregon running back, Jordan James. And I think most importantly, this pick is Frank Gore approved. If a future Hall of Fame running back likes you, seems good enough for me. That is from Jed York, who's been providing all the hints here. Yes, Gore loves Jordan James because I think Jordan James might remind Gore of himself. James is not a burner. Frank Gore wasn't a burner either. 4.55 40. In fact, his 20-plus yard runs in 2024, it did not have a lot of them. He had 3 of them. But he had 39 runs of 10 or more yards, which was really good. He ranked 10th in the nation with yards of 10 or more, with runs of 10 or more yards. So Jordan James was a consistent back, picking up between 10 and 20 yards for the University of Oregon. He's a tough runner. I think he's got a muscled up frame. He's 5'10", 208 pounds. So, I mean, there is strength here, and I think that he's a decisive zone runner. The Oregon Ducks and the 49ers are very familiar with what Oregon runs. They sent an entire contingent to Oregon's Pro Day. We'd never seen anything like it. The 49ers had like a dozen representatives at Oregon's Pro Day. The Oregon Ducks run a multiple offense. So you're going to see a lot of zone running there, inside zone, outside zone. They're going to run some counter stuff. So I think Jordan James is very cerebrally well prepared for the NFL level based on the workload, which wasn't just a one-dimensional one with the Oregon Ducks. Like Frank Gore, and again, we're going to keep on talking about Frank Gore because Frank likes this guy a lot. He's a very good pass protector. And generally, you see that with players who've got that good sense of leverage. And I think that Jordan James strikes some good balance on the field. But it's also a mentality, right? You have to be able to take on oncoming linebackers when they have a head of steam and you don't. You have to dig your feet into the ground and you have to be ready to absorb some contact. It's one of the tougher things to do in sports. In football especially, and I think that's why a lot of running backs don't make it at the NFL level, and that is one of Jordan James' strengths. You want to go through some of his statistics at the University of Oregon? He was the backup for Bucky Irving, and then he took over for Bucky Irving after Bucky went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even when he was behind Irving, Jordan James had 759 yards rushing for the Oregon Ducks. That was in 2023. That was at 7.1 yards per carry. Then in 2024, when he took over the starting job, 1,267 yard season. All 15 of his touchdown runs came from the red zone. And it's funny because you go to Dane Brugler's scouting report, and he wrote that, and it was almost like a negative. It was one of his knocks on Jordan James. So all 15 of his touchdowns came from the red zone. And I get what Dane is saying. He's saying that this guy's not a particularly explosive home run hitter, 20-plus yard touchdown kind of guy. But at the same time, the 49ers really struggled, especially running in the red zone last year. So I don't think it's an entirely bad thing if a guy is very good in those shorter dimensions. And Jordan James is, from 10 to 20 yards and then 15 touchdown runs, all came from within the red zone last year. I think it's really important to emphasize the good relationship the 49ers have with the Oregon Ducks program. This goes back to Deommodore Lenoir, picked in 2021 from the Ducks, but John Lynch and that entire contingent that went to Oregon's Pro Day last month, they got to see some good football players. We talk about Derek Harmon. We talked a lot about Jeffrey Bossa, the tight end, Terrence Ferguson, also a really good player. We can go through the entire list of Oregon Ducks who are draft-worthy material because there's a lot of them, and this was a college football playoff team. But obviously one of them was Jordan James. And I'm sure that John Lynch and Oregon head coach Dan Lanning talked about Jordan James at dinner later that night. John keeps on talking about this dinner that he had with Dan Lanning. And when John starts talking in personal terms like that, especially when he starts talking about the relationship with a head coach that he might have, I think that it's more likely than not that the 49ers are very, very interested in a particular school's player. And they might have been interested, and they might still be interested in more than just Jordan James from Oregon. But they are now the owners of the rights to Jordan James. They could sign him to a contract worth fifth-round money. Of course, the fifth round has been the wheelhouse for the 49ers, drafting over the course of the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch tenure. This goes all the way back to George Kittle in 2017. Deommodore Lenoir was a fifth-round pick out of Oregon in 2021. And if that works out, well, then maybe this one can work out for the 49ers as well. A relative athletic score for Jordan James is not impressive compared to some of the other ones that we've seen. But again, this might be why Frank Gore really likes Jordan James, because he had a lot of success despite the fact that he is not an elite athlete. Why don't we take a look at this one? We're used to seeing a lot of green, especially in the late rounds. The 49ers have, over the past 2 years, have unearthed some true relative athletic score value. Not in this case with Jordan James. So 4.65. He's not very big, right? He's 5'9", 5'10", 205 pounds, though. I think given the height means that he has that stockiness, and he has the appropriate base to be able to, A, run through contact, and B, absorb past rushers. So he's good in pass protection. The explosion is actually poor here. 32-inch vertical for that size at the running back position. Not very good. 9-foot broad jump. The speed is okay. 4.55 40, but the 10-yard split isn't great either. So you don't have anything in green on this entire relative athletic score for Jordan James. Yet he still had success running the football at Oregon. Keep in mind, they drafted this guy in the fifth round because of the way that they think that he could run the ball. And he also had some success catching the ball out of the backfield last year. And he's been sturdy in that pass protection. So they're looking for a floor here when it comes to executing some of the important things that you have to do on the football field. If you take a look at the 49ers roster, one of our positions where we had the red cell to denote a hole was the running back position. I know that it's listed in the fullback column, but that's just because I ran out of room at running back. Yes, I do project Jordan James to make this football team. He'll probably compete with Israel Abanikanda and Patrick Taylor. But actually, we're going to put him ahead of Patrick Taylor. And I did not mean to put Jordan Watkins, the receiver, there. We'll put Patrick Taylor down here. I do think that the 49ers might take 4 running backs on the initial 53, but it's way too soon to project that. Patrick Taylor was one of the 49ers re-signings this offseason. Jordan James will go and slot in behind Isaac Guerendo right now as the 49ers' third-string running back. We could figure out the exact order later of these running backs. We're going to be watching them throughout the course of off season and then training camp. So that will be determined. But all I know right now is that the 49ers have eliminated yet another red cell, which denoted roster hole to fill from their roster. So this has been a very needs-based NFL draft. The 49ers, first, they opened up by attacking 5 separate needs on the defensive side of the ball. So every draftee is shaded in green. You can see the defensive side of the ball here. C.J. West, Alfred Collins, Michael Williams, Nick Martin, and an Upton Stout. I project them all as starters, which is wild to me. They might have gotten 5 starters if you consider the third linebacker position a starting position. Martin is going to be competing with D. Winters. Then they turned their attention to the offensive side of the ball, where they didn't need starters, but they have needed quality depth. First at the receiver position, where the 49ers drafted Jordan Watkins, and now for San Francisco at the running back position, where they have grabbed Jordan James out of the University of Oregon. So where else do the 49ers have a need? Well, this leaves one red cell on the entire depth chart. Guess where it's at? You can see it right here. The one last remaining glaring need for the 49ers, which they have not yet addressed through this 2025 NFL draft, is offensive tackle, or just in general offensive line. Is there a developmental guy that they really like that they may be able to take over the course of the final 5 picks? Final 5 picks. Sorry, they got 4 more picks. They've got 1 more pick in the 5th round and three picks in the 7th round to wrap this up. Is there some kind of developmental tackle in the rough that we don't know about? We had speculated that maybe Charles Grant, who ended up going to the Raiders, would be that guy. Is there a veteran that the 49ers are going to want to sign off the street, or will they make a trade for a tackle? That's intriguing to me moving forward. They made a trade for Trent Williams back in 2020 to bolster that position in a huge way. I do think that they can start the season for sure with Trent Williams at left tackle and Colton McKivitz at right tackle. But as we've seen, Trent's missed at least a couple games in all of these seasons, and Colton McKivitz is on his final year under contract. So finding a swing tackle, unless it's going to be Spencer Burford, who recently moved from guard to tackle, finding a swing tackle is going to be of utmost importance for the 49ers. I don't think they need a starter at that position quite yet. I think they probably need to think about that moving into the future, but they definitely need some more offensive line depth. Mike points out that Jedrick Willis Jr. is a free agent. He does fit the scheme. He used to play for the Browns, and he's only 25 years old. Maybe that's somebody that the 49ers turn to and try to sign. And maybe they hadn't signed him yet, or somebody like that yet, because they're waiting to see what would happen in the first round of this NFL draft. But when all three of the premier tackles, Will Campbell, Armand Membu, and Kelvin Banks Jr. went ahead of the 49ers pick at number 11, they were zeroed in on defense. They picked Mykel Williams at number 11. The first 5 picks went to the defensive side of the ball. We know how specific the 49ers are with their tackles. And, you know, somebody like Charles Grant, he would have been a big-time project even if they had picked him. And I think he went number 99 to the Raiders, right ahead of the 49ers' 100th pick that went to Upton Stout. So, even if Charles Grant had gone to San Francisco, that would have been a big-time project. So anybody whom the 49ers add from this point forward probably is going to be a developmental player in that sense. More on Jordan James, because this is the instant reaction for the running back the 49ers just added behind Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo. And that's going to be a hell of a 1-2 punch in the backfield for the 49ers next year. And they traded Jordan Mason, and that's the next pick that the 49ers are going to have in this 5th round, is the pick that came over from Minnesota for Jordan Mason. They used the pick that came over from Washington via the New Orleans Saints, which is why it was higher up in the 5th round here for Jordan James. He averaged 7 yards per carry running to the left side in 2024, with averages of 4.7 and 4.6 yards per carry up the middle and to the right, respectively. That's from ESPN and Nick Wagoner. Might have had something to do with Josh Carnerly, I'm guessing, in that Oregon offense, blocking for him, 7 yards per carry to one of the sides and a lot less to the other sides. The reason that I read that stat is because the 49ers offense became a whole lot more ambidextrous last year. If they had stayed healthy throughout the season, I think that we would have been writing about it more. But obviously the injuries hit, and this wasn't a granular detailer that was worth diving too far into. But I wrote about it after week 1. The 49ers, for the first time since Trent Williams came aboard, and I would really since Trent Williams came aboard, because he came aboard in 2020, were more effective running to the right side than they were to the left side. And against the it was against the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers in that first Monday Night Football game, they were just pounding the right side. Jordan Mason had a big game. I think that the 49ers' goal is to stay more ambidextrous running-wise, and I think that Dominic Pooney helped that at the right guard position. I thought that he allowed Colton McKivitz to take his game to another level, especially in run blocking at the right tackle position. That duo performed much better than the right guard, right tackle duo for the 49ers in 2023. And they're going to be aiming for more of that in 2025. In an ideal world, Jordan James is not going to have to play a whole lot for the 49ers. But the reality of the situation is that running backs get hurt, and especially guys like Jordan James. He's a physical back. He's not going to run away from a lot of people. We look at the relative athletic score. It is not a robust one. There is a chance, though, that he's going to have to fill in for Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo. That's just how it's been for San Francisco, especially last year when both McCaffrey and Guerendo were on the shelf for different periods of time. Here is the craziest Jordan James stat. And you're looking for floor at a backup running back position. You can't have somebody come in and cough the game up. They have to hold on to the football. Guess how many fumbles Jordan James has in his college career. 0. He's got 0 fumbles in his college career. The amount of fumbles that Jordan James has is the Oregon logo. It's the O on the helmet. That's a 0, right? That the Ducks wear that O, that logo, to show everybody how many fumbles Jordan James has in his college career. So when you're talking about high floor, you want a good pass protector. You want somebody who doesn't fumble the football. You want somebody who can catch the football. The 49ers think they have that in Jordan James. Yes, they didn't go for somebody like Jaden Blue, who runs the 4.3 or 4.4 40. Instead, they go for the 4.55 40. They go for the weaker relative athletic score, but they go with reliability here in the 5th round as depth behind Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo. Fun fact, Jordan James started his high school career at Brentwood Academy, which is where Lombardi herself went to high school. They didn't overlap at Brentwood Academy, but it is the alma mater of players like Jalen Ramsey, Derek Barnett, Dawson Knox, I believe, went there as well. Well, Jordan James started his career at Brentwood Academy, and then he moved on somewhere else in the Nashville area. Let's take a look at his bio. We got Dane Brugler's draft guide here. Does a great job with it. Originally attended Brentwood Academy in Nashville. Was on varsity as a freshman, 1,100 yards, 7.1 yards per carry as a sophomore. Then he withdrew from the school in 2019, was homeschooled for the remainder of his sophomore year, relocated to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Oh, that's interesting because that's where Jawan Jennings is from. Murfreesboro. Enrolled at Oakland High School, so not Oakland in the Bay Area, but Oakland High in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Rushed for 9.6 yards per carry as a junior. It's always funny to see these guys' high school stats. And then, as a junior, his high school went 15-0, and they won the state championship over his former team, Brentwood Academy. He was the MVP of that game with 226 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. Jeez, high school stats are wild. He has a nose for the sticks. It's another good stat. One of just 5 FBS backs with 84 or more first downs in 2024. So it sounds like he has a nose for the end zone based on the fact that all 15 of his rushing touchdowns came from the red zone. He has a nose for the first down sticks, 85. One of just 5 FBS backs with 85 or more first downs in 2024. 0 career fumbles, as I said. I mean, he's a reliable guy, good awareness in pass protection. And, I think that he knows how to run. They often say this at the quarterback position. They'll say this guy knows how to play the position. I think the 49ers will say this guy knows how to play the running back position. The 49ers started a running back run. Who got picked right after Jordan James? I'm just looking at some text from Mike. As I'm on the show, it's hard to keep up with Twitter right now. Alfred Blue. Okay. So, yes, there are, and this was known as a talented class for running backs, right? We had discussed that leading up to this draft. Defensive tackles and running backs, we figured the 49ers would be able to get good quality players in the middle of this draft. Middle to late in this draft. We're still in the middle. We still have one more 5th round pick to cover for the 49ers. And they think they got a quality guy, a good runner out of Oregon in Jordan James. DJ Giddens also went. So Alfred Blue and DJ Giddens went after Jordan James. So the run on running backs is coming here in the 5th round of this NFL draft. Mike points out that this is where you take your running backs, not earlier. I agree. Unless you have a completely transcendent talent like a Christian McCaffrey, like a Saquon Barkley, for me, it's hard to justify a pick in the 2nd, 3rd round. 4th, 5th round, that makes a lot of sense. And Isaac Guerendo went in the 4th round last season, ended up being a good pick for the 49ers. Guerendo, I mean, he's such a good receiver. He seems like a natural coming out of the backfield. And that's so important. I mean, you saw the game against the Dolphins this past year, right down in Miami, where Patrick Taylor Jr. was the starter for the 49ers, and there were just a couple plays where it should have been a run-of-the-mill check down from Brock Purdy, but Taylor was in a slightly wrong spot. And as soon as you're not feeling the space right, that could blow up an entire play. One of those almost turned into a Brock Purdy interception in Miami. So it is absolutely imperative for a running back to do the mundane small things right in the pass game. Otherwise, it could be just as bad as the guy who fumbles a lot. Because a guy who fumbles a lot is not reliable. But a guy who runs to the wrong spot or is not positioned ideally in the pass game, well, that's also going to be a reliability issue. And that's going to drive Kyle Shanahan crazy. That's going to kill the efficiency of an offense. And the 49ers at this spot, I'll say this one more time, they're looking for a high floor. They're looking to make sure that that depth is insulated at the running back position. I mean, speaking of Patrick Taylor Jr., he, before this pick, was definitely the 49ers' next option after Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo. So say that both McCaffrey and Guerendo are out at any portion of this 2025 season. Jordan James probably gets the next call. I think that his reliability in college is going to translate well to the NFL. And I think that he's going to unseat Patrick Taylor Jr. as the 49ers' third-string running back. And history tells us that this is an important position on a football team that runs the football very frequently and on a football team that relies on its running backs in pass protection very frequently. You just cannot insert somebody into this lineup who's not reliable in either the receiving game or the pass blocking game and expect this offense to continue clicking. And you have to expect that the running back position is going to need some depth that will be used over the course of the season, given the injury rates that the 49ers have seen there. I'm ready for some questions. We got a little bit more time here, right? How far are the 49ers away, Mike? Jeffrey Bossa goes to the Chiefs. That's on topic. Jeffrey Bossa is an Oregon linebacker. When John Lynch was watching Jordan James at Oregon's Pro Day before he went to dinner with Dan Lanning, he was talking to Jeffrey Bossa. We got that video. 49ers are 2 picks away, so I think it's time to wrap this sucker up. I wanted to get to 1,000. We're at 969, just a couple picks away, though. So we ended up about 13 people away. I think we're at 987. Whatever. We got another instant reaction coming up here in just a couple seconds.